Thank you everyone for coming. I know it's kind of weird, speaking with the mics on, and hopefully you can hear me well. Uh, so my name is Rahul Sareen. I lead the cross-industry and sustainability solutions at AWS globally. Basically, we are helping customers build solutions through cloud and emerging technologies. So using data, AI, machine learning. Uh, I have with me two other co-presenters, Paolo and Bianca, and they'll come and share about, you know, how we are actually helping, like how they are like using Gen AI for their own sustainability product, into their products for helping customers with their sustainability goals. So here we are going to talk about how you can integrate Gen AI into sustainability strategies. So we work with a lot of customers, across different industries, even like public sector, startups, and some customers say that we have an idea on what we need to do for our own sustainability journey, but we don't know how to get started, right? Or we don't know how to even integrate technology into our own sustainability strategies, right? So that's where we are kind of creating these blueprints and best practices as to how customers can really integrate all the emerging tech. And obviously Gen AI is kind of revolutionizing all the industries and different segments. So they are really interested in understanding how Gen AI can really help them meet their sustainability goals and targets. So we'll talk about what are some of the innovation opportunities that we are seeing in Gen AI, and then how Gen AI really works for sustainability overall. We have Paolo, who will talk about how they are basically building a product for Mercado Differente, and how they are basically helping customers reduce food waste, which again is a big problem. So we'll hear more from Paolo. And then, Bianca will share about the architecture patterns, best practices, and how customers and you can get started. So, we work with, as I mentioned, a lot of customers, and we are seeing a lot of innovation overall happening for Gen AI, right? So it's not just limited to sustainability, but there are a lot of customers who are using Gen AI to even generate code, get better code, write better code, faster product releases. But also from the business perspective, we have customers who are actually looking at Gen AI to create new user experiences, right? So previously, when you had a customer problem, right, you basically go and dial a customer service contact, and then they go back and forth. They don't have the information, they ask for the same information again, and then it takes a lot of time, right? A lot of back and forth. So we are seeing Gen AI really helping reduce the time and provide a better customer experience. Similarly, we are seeing a lot of innovation in product development. So there are manufacturers who are actually looking at product design and how can they design product for different purposes, right? Whether it's resiliency, whether it's sustainability, and previously it used to take a lot of time. People have to run a lot of simulations. Now with Gen AI, they are really able to get a much better experience and also faster time to really design their product. And finally, we are also seeing one of the things where Gen AI really shines, and we have seen a lot of results, is around productivity, right? Gains. As I mentioned, people are looking at areas where how can they ingest so many PDF documents and then contextualize things from that, do the web scraping. So just to improve the productivity, Gen AI really is helping a lot. But what does it mean for Gen AI for sustainability, for example, right? We have seen that it's not just applicable for one industry or the other. There are so many other industries, like for example finance, we have supply chain, marketing, and sales, who all are using Gen AI to really solve their sustainability challenges. We had a session yesterday where we heard from customers around how they are using Gen AI. Like for example, we have a customer, Nasdaq, that actually has built a Gen AI based solution to really build risk profile scores for their customers based on sustainability parameters, right? So it could be carbon, it can be human value chain, We also have other customers who are doing innovative work, in the field of agriculture, in the field of ocean transportation, who are really using Gen AI to really solve like some of the tough challenges. Finance, for example, one of the big challenges that they really face is around portfolio optimization, right? So there are a lot of private equity companies who have multiple portfolios, companies that they basically support and fund, and they are really looking for, creating kind of a risk score. But even like when they have to fund a new startup or if they have to fund a new company, they are kind of trying to figure out that how can they do a better assessment based on sustainability, so that they can really make a really conscious decision. So as I mentioned, right, this for those of you who work in the sustainability field or who work in the ESG field, this is a typical ESG workflow, right? And there are some pain points that come along with that, right? So for example, anyone who is basically building an ESG reporting platform, they have to do a market trend analysis, you have to do risk assessments, data collection and validation is a big problem, data analysis, and then you have to report on all of that, right? So all of that is really problematic, and there are pain points that goes along with that. And how Gen AI is really helping in this context. Like for example, when you have to do market trend analysis, right? We have seen customers using Gen AI to really summarize analysis and identify patterns, right? Similarly, ESG compliance is a big challenge, right? There are so many regulations which are coming on day-to-day basis, right? Like every month there is a new regulation. Industries are coming up with their own regulations or compliances, right? It becomes very difficult for any organization to just go through pages and pages of documents and really understand. So we are seeing customers who really, for example, we had a customer who were reporting to TCFD, which is one of the standards. And then they were like, okay, how, I already report to one regulatory framework. Now I do business in Europe. They have CSRD, which is a regulation which is Europe-wide. What does it mean, right? What changes do I have to do to meet those regulation requirements? Because I have the data, but every regulation has their own it's kind of a different framework. The data in which they want your information is very different. So we have customers who are actually building Gen AI chatbots, and then they just upload their current report, and then they report, let's say, a CSRD report or a requirement, and then they ask the chatbot that, okay, tell me what are the data gaps that we have. How can I really meet this new regulation requirement, right? So rather than spending days and months in just going through that, it's making life very easier for customers. But while there are pros, there are also some of the other operational challenges for Gen AI that people have. One of the things is data challenge, right? You probably might have attended other Gen AI sessions or other AI sessions, and as a practitioner of technology, you all know, right? It's garbage in, garbage out, right? So you need to make sure that in order for you to build a really solid Gen AI application, you need to have the right data in, right? So collecting the right data is challenge for especially for sustainability, because it's actually going through the whole digital transformation that has never happened. And people have been doing sustainability, sustainable reporting, or even trying to be more sustainable as an organization. But it was all done in a very manual manner, people were still using Excel files. Now we are seeing a shift where sustainability is actually going through a digital transformation. So there are data challenges, data sometimes doesn't occur. And that's why, it becomes difficult to build those Gen AI applications properly, because, you have to really think about, what's the data, right? Technology integration becomes another challenge, right? There are different patterns available, there are different platforms that customers are building, and then how do you integrate all of that? And then scalability, right? How do you even scale? So once you build a POC, how do you go from there and scale it to across your business? One of the things, as I mentioned, data is a differentiator, right? So in order for you to build a proper Gen AI application, you need to make sure that you really build it on your data. there are foundational models which are available for everyone, right? There are sorry, there are paid models, there are open source models. So anyone can build a Gen AI application, right? But the difference of it being a generic Gen AI application versus an application that really understands your business, that really provides the right context, is the one which is actually trained or like that even uses your data, right? So we are seeing that customers are really building data platforms, and then they are starting with the foundational models which are available, and then they are really tuning the foundational models to their data so that they can really make sense of their business and then take actions. And going back to the point, right, like for any true Gen AI application, you need to have a solid data foundation. You need to make sure that you have a comprehensive platform that really is used for storing and querying structured and unstructured and vector data. We are seeing, customers, like for example, I was working with a steel manufacturer, and they were getting data from their suppliers. It was like handwritten notes, right? Some of the data was coming as PDF documents. Some were like fuel receipts, right, that they were capturing. So data comes in different format. You need to make sure that you have a comprehensive platform that really can take all the type of data, unstructured, structured, and really like build it and put it in a format which really can be scalable. And then integrate with your other platforms, right? So one of the challenges that we see right now is that your data might be in ERP systems, right? How do you integrate with your ERP systems? Your suppliers are all over the world, right? How do you collect the data from those, right? So making sure that you kind of build a data pipeline that basically provides like zero ETL motions, and then it's all integrated with all the sources and all the places where you really need to collect the data. And finally, data governance, right? One of the things that I really see, which customers don't pay a lot of attention, unfortunately, is governance of the data, right? Because you now have a platform where you are storing the data, you are basically keeping it accessible. But the problem is, how do you even provide governance? How do you provide lineage? How do you even provide access controls towards that, right? Because you might have to provide it to multiple business stakeholders, and they all might need data, but they, like for example, financial data is there, right? Where you need it to do some reporting. You don't want anyone to access that financial data, right? So having a strong data governance is really important. And those are some of the things that we are seeing many customers really integrate into their strategies when they really are thinking about how to use Gen AI for their own sustainability goals. And with that, I really want to invite Paolo, who will talk about their journey with AWS and with Gen AI and how they are building their platform to help their customers.
Good morning. My name is Paulo Moncores. I am co-founder and CTO at Mercado Diferente. First, I would like to thank you for the AWS team for the opportunity to be here. We are the first Brazilian startup talking in this session, and this is an honor for us. I also would like to thank you, my family, my wife, for the entire support in these 3 years that we have been building Mercado Diferente. My business partner, Eduardo Petrelli, that it's with me since the beginning, and being here, it's actually a realization for us, and the entire Mercado Diferente team that work in this product. The first thing that I would love to talk to you folks, it's why we exist. So the first thing that I'm gonna say to you, our mission, we are pretty obvious. We are online grocery store. So you can buy groceries online. But we are different. Why we are different? Because my mission, it's completely different from the other grocery stores. Because I want to make food more accessible to people, healthy food more accessible to people, and I want to fight against food waste. This is the reason that Mercado Diferente exists. We sell just fresh food. So we are talking about fruits, vegetables, spices, greens. And we sell some complementary products like eggs and milks, but always from local producers with high quality and a more accessible price. And why? Why this matter in Brazil? Why this matter for Latin America? I'm gonna share with you some data here. This market in Brazil is a 200 billion market when we talk about Brazilian groceries. The second thing that it's very important in Latin, 82% of the families in Brazil, they cook on daily basis. Every day they need to cook. And this is why Diferente exists. 30% of everything that it's produced in Brazil goes directly to garbage. It's wasted. Why? Imagine that traditional grocery stores, they don't buy items because of their shape or because of their size. So this they say, yeah, it's very hard to sell, but people can consume those items, these organic items. And in Brazil, we have a huge problem that people think organic food, it's just for rich people. And this is hard to believe that because of this inefficiency in the supply chain and because of this matter of size or shape, we are wasting food and people are not having access to good food for that. This is the reason that Mercado Diferente is a different online shop. And there is something else that this is very tied to our technology. At Mercado Diferente, you don't choose the fresh items that goes to your basket. We have a machine learning algorithm that based in your profile, that to sign up in our website, in our platform, you go through a quiz experience where we understand your preferences, your restrictions, the objective that you have like to cook on the weekly basis, and we build the perfect box for you. So based on that, we are able to give you better price, better food, and understanding like your behavior. Like we are not a grocery store that I just want to sell to you. I want to sell you on a current basis. This is the reason that we are also a subscription model. So with Mercado Diferente, we already in 3 years deliver more than 500,000 boxes in 53 cities. We already saved more than 36 tons of food that would be wasted, like using technology. But Paulo, what this is connected with Gen AI? You just talk about like a recommendation model that you are using machine learning, what it's, okay. So during this journey at Mercado Diferente, I started seeing a second problem. And I want to share this problem with you. In Latin America, 157 million families cook at home every day. And like 78% of them struggle to decide what they're gonna cook. The planning of the house, it's something hard. And then there is a second number that it's hard for me to accept. It's around 15 to 20% of everything that you buy in a grocery store, it's wasted. So if you spend $100 in Walmart or any other retailer, $20 go to garbage. You will not use that. And there is like an event for that is called like the blindness of the refrigerator. You open your fridge, the stuff are there, but you don't see because you don't know what to do with those items. And we started facing a problem at Mercado Diferente. Our customers start giving to us this feedback. I'm not receiving on a weekly basis. I'm gonna switch to bi-weekly because I don't know what to do with the items. I don't know how to store the items. I don't know how to prepare those items. It's too much for me. I need more information. They start calling my support to say, hey, what is this? What I could do with this? How can I store that? Is this good for me to eat? Could you give me like recipe suggestion for that? And here we saw an opportunity. We decided to build and to do a spin-off of our company and launch Teddy. Teddy is the first AI kitchen assistant based on WhatsApp. So in Latin America, WhatsApp is the thing. Like, it's a huge super app for Brazilians. You can do almost everything in a formal and an informal way. And then we want to reduce the friction. I don't want to create another app. People already have so many apps. And we said, let's be on WhatsApp. And let's leverage like the power of LLMs with conversational commerce to give them in their pocket, like how can they save food, how can prepare better meal plans on WhatsApp. So we created Teddy, and with Teddy, we believe that we are able and ready to give a different experience for people to shop and to make better plans in their kitchen. So with TED, you basically can ask for a recipe. Like, I have tomatoes, I have lettuce, and I have a chicken. Could you give me something, like some ideas to do? Or you can say, I'm gonna receive 4 friends at my house during the night, and I would love to do something like with pasta and a meat. We are gonna build. You can take a picture of your fridge and say, hey, could you give me some inspiration, like for what to cook? And then I might say, but Paulo, this is not a meaningful problem. In Brazil, the websites of recipes, they have more than 150 million visits per month. This is a huge problem for people to get inspiration here. And more, I am on a diet, a low carb diet. I have this restriction. Could you give me recipes for this? When our customers receive a box, we already send a message for them, like, do you want your meal plan based in what you received? They can do that with just one click. The second thing that people, when they receive items, because they are imperfect, they are consumable, but the shape is different or the size is different. People do have questions. So they can just take a picture and ask, are those bananas good to eat? Like, could you give me more information? How should I store properly this item? Or could you give me ideas of recipes for this? Like, how many calories I do have for this? So people can understand better what they are consuming and what they are using. But Paulo, what is this you are just using LLMs. What is your difference for these other models? Personalization, and working in regions. Brazil is a huge country. The suggestions that I make for people that live in the south, it's completely different the suggestions that my model does for people that are living in the northeast. So we have a huge database with data, curated data, where we can be more personalized for our recipes and for the information that we are giving here. And this is, I think it's one of the most powerful things that we are gonna build with that. I'm gonna change the way that people shop groceries on Latam. I'm gonna change that. Why? Because it's boring. Nobody likes to go to supermarket. Nobody likes to think. Teddy, right now, it's connected to Mercado Diferente, and you can basically use an audio and say, hey, include in my next box eggs. Hey, I don't want to receive strawberries in my next box. This is a restriction. Hey, I would love to see more grapes on my box. And it's done. You can open your refrigerator and say, hey, Teddy, my next order, please include chicken breast, include this, include that. You just receive it. Yeah, you can pay here. You pay your transaction, and it's done. So you can create with TED a meal plan, a shopping list from this meal plan, and say, hey, just order at Mercado Diferente. Everything with the power of Gen AI. This was a deal breaker for us because Teddy is accessible for everyone. We were able to reduce our churn by 15%. We were able to increase our AOV, and we were able to generate more leads because that is free. I want people being more educated about the decisions that they make about cooking. We launched Teddy in August, and I brought the first numbers in the first 4 weeks that Teddy was running in Brazil. We had more than 700K messages like that people were sending, asking for recipes, asking for meal plans, asking, could I replace like this rice for this item here? Like people were extremely engaged, asking for suggestions, asking, hey, I am on diet, I need a plan, a low carb, I have a restriction of this and that. And people were start interacting a lot with. We also saw a change in the customer behavior at Mercado Diferente. They coming back from bi-weekly basis to weekly basis because they were better informed and more engaged. The second thing, that was pretty interesting, like highly engaged customers interact with TED more than 20 times per week. We saw that we were the backbone that was missing for them to plan better. In 4 weeks, like we were able to have more than 700,000 messages, like more than 60,000 customers join Teddy, and like 71% of our customers were interacting more than 5 times. It was a deal breaker for us. Like we saw that Brazil has this need about struggling with what to cook and how can I plan better and how can I understand how much I want to spend. And we're still growing with Teddy, we're still making more enhancements like in the features, but this wasn't possible without the support on AWS and using their technology to power us. So for this reason now I'm gonna hand over to Bianca that will do like architecture deep dive, talking about like what we did at Mercado Diferente and Teddy to be able to serve our customers. Bianca?
All right, thank you so much, Paulo. It's nice to be here, everyone. My name is Bianca. I'm a solutions architect for the startup segment at AWS, and I'm also the solutions architect for Mercado Diferente. So I've been helping them with their technical challenges. And well, now that we know who is Mercado Diferente, what Teddy is, I wanted to deep dive into their architecture and how they're using AWS services to create their solutions and get those inspirational results and how they are fighting the food waste. But before we get into the architecture itself, I just wanted to bring back something that Raul actually said in the beginning of the presentation, which is that data is actually the differentiator for generative AI applications. So what I mean by that is that choosing the right foundation model, the right tools to build your solution is really, really important. But using your data in an effective way to customize your customers' experience and make them even more effective is even more crucial to have success on generative AI applications. And to customize customer experience in a technical side, we have some strategies that we can use. And actually, Mercado Diferente is using some of them. So those are the 4 most common approaches we have to customize customer experience with generative AI. And the first one is the prompt engineering, which is basically designing your prompt to get the most effective answers from the foundation model you're using. So trying to add parameters and designing it in a proper way to get the best response you can get. And prompt engineering may seem like a simple thing, a simple strategy, but actually the impact that it has is very huge. And I'm sure that Mercado Diferente has a very specific way of prompt engineering their prompts to the models they're using. And then we have retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, as we usually say. And RAG is basically a way of getting a base foundation model that you use for your solution. And instead of retraining it, we just add more context. We enrich the prompt that we're sending to this model. So now this model will be able to understand the context of the business and then provide a better answer based on this data you're providing. So just adding more context. And also Mercado Diferente also uses this strategy we're going to see on the architecture. And then we have the other 2, which is fine-tuning and continued pre-training, which are strategies where we get the base model and we actually retrain it with a new data set, with a new set of data. And then your model that once was generic, now they actually know about your business. They know data about your business. So you have a specialized foundation model for your specific customer needs, okay? So now, getting back to the architecture, here's an overall diagram for Mercado Diferente Steady solution. I know there's a lot happening here. I know there's a lot of services. I'll go through each of the components and how they work and how they communicate with each other. But before we get into that, I just wanted to highlight one of the main resources here, which is Amazon Bedrock. For those who don't know, Bedrock is a service that provides an easy way to build and scale generative AI applications with foundation models from the market. So you can do this by choosing for leading foundation models in the market that are available in Amazon Bedrock through a single API. So depending on your use case, you can choose a specific model to help you with that. And Amazon Bedrock also has features to model customization. So you can apply fine tuning, you can apply RAG. We have knowledge bases, that is our feature for RAG. So we have many features to help you in a centralized way create your applications using generative AI technologies. You have also the possibility to create agents. So imagine that you want to use a prompt to actually call an API or make some specific processes using compute services on AWS. You can do this using Amazon Bedrock agents. And also, we always care about the security and privacy and data governance, so you also have features to do that with the models you're running and choosing from Bedrock. And as I was saying, we have a broad choice of models, so depending on what we're trying to do, we can choose different types of models. And actually yesterday on the keynote, we had more news about Amazon Bedrock, so new features we're adding. So we're continuously improving and hearing the feedback from our customers to improve Amazon Bedrock features. So here we have AI21 Labs models. We actually have also the model from Amazon, which is Titan. We have Anthropic, Meta, Cohere. So you can actually understand what is the best model for you and choose between a text-only model, imagine a generator, and everything. So here, the thing here is that you are flexible, you have flexibility to choose what is best for the specific use case you have for your company. And actually, Amazon Bedrock plays a huge part here for Teddy. So what happens here? Paulo said how it works from the user side, how they can interact with Teddy. So as we said, is a chat-based solution with generative AI using WhatsApp API. Okay, so imagine that a customer sends a message asking, for example, for a new recipe. The first thing that happens here is that this message will go to the backend system at that endpoint on Amazon EKS. And Amazon EKS is just a service, a managed service to run Kubernetes clusters, okay, in a managed way. And what happens here is that this message is analyzed to understand what type of message is that. So is it an audio? Is it an image? Is it just text? So first we understand that. After this step, then we go to Amazon Bedrock. And here, to this step, we are using Cloud Sonnet, okay, from Anthropic. And what Cloud Sonnet will do is understand the intent of the message. So what is the customer asking for? So is they asking for a new recipe? Is they asking for updates on their profile preferences, some dietary options? So actually intend what the customer is asking here. And then after that, they can decide what path they'll take. So we have different functionalities in TED. So depending on the intent recognition, then we go to a different path in the architecture, okay? So imagine that this first step here, the customer is just asking for a new recipe generation, okay? What happens then is that we will call another model inside Bedrock, which is the model from Amazon, Titan, which has the capability of generating new images. And here we get the information from the recipe, so the ingredients we need, how to prepare that recipe, and then we generate an image with those information and also an image from the food itself prepared, okay? And then after we do that, we embed this into a vector database on Amazon OpenSearch, which is a managed service for OpenSearch. And then we also save this image generated on an S3 recipe buckets, okay? So here, after all this process is done, we go back to the customer to send the image for that recipe with all instructions, how can they prepare the recipe, the food. So imagine that after that, another customer asks for the same recipe that this first customer asked. What happens here is that instead of going through the same process again and again, we are going to use the vector database that has saved those details from that recipe to embed this recipe and just go back to the customer. So instead of doing the process again, we're kind of reusing that same recipe and sending to the customer. This helps on reuse of to save the resources that we are using in the architecture. And in this step, we are calling vector search, okay? And then we have a third path that we can go. So imagine that, for example, the customer asks about a frequently asked question, like something about the food they are trying to prepare, or something about Teddy, or something about Mercado Diferente's details. So frequently asked questions that Mercado Diferente has been gathering from the data they gather from their customers. What happens here then is that instead of using a specific model, we are using the knowledge bases feature from Amazon Bedrock. And knowledge base feature is basically a way of applying RAG strategy to the model that you're using. So here what is happening is that the knowledge base, for in this case, is the vector database in the on-page search. So what happens here is that they are getting their information from the vector database, okay, and using to enrich and to give context to the model they are using to answer these frequently asked questions about Teddy or about Mercado Diferente or about the specific food that this user is wanting to know more about, okay? And then lastly, I'll have the other app interactions. What this means. So as Paulo said, we have Mercado Diferente, which is e-commerce where you can buy the grocery items. And here, imagine that the customer wants to update their profile. Maybe they are allergic to a specific food. Maybe they just want to change some preferences on a specific food, but they don't want to go to Mercado Diferente website to do this in their profile. They can just send a message, and then what happens here is that Cloud will recognize the intent of the message and then call the back-end Teddy core system running on Amazon EKS. We use agents for this, so we're calling a bunch of APIs and actually changing those preferences and updating those preferences for that user. So they don't have to go to the website, and it's much easier and much more humanized to talk with the application. Okay, so that said, it's an overall architecture. And what I wanted to bring here from what I said before is the flexibility here. So as we can see, Mercado is using different features from Amazon Bedrock and different services to create this architecture and to orchestrate this architecture. That being the different models they have, the flexibility to choose from, also the RAG with knowledge bases, also the agents to call the API. So here we have different features being used to create this architecture, to create the customization. And here the data is key, because to understand the preferences for the customers, they have to have the data and how this customer is interacting with the application. Also for the FAQs, they have to have those stored somewhere and get this data and use it in a way that will improve the customer experience and make it easier to solve those problems that he just said about the food waste, about the blindness of the refrigerator. So here we're actually empowering the customers to have a more specialized solution using the data, but also using the specific tools and the right tools to this specific scenario. And what we learned with Mercado Diferente during this entire process, and also working with other customers, are some key considerations that I wanted to bring to you, so you can think what you can do maybe using technology, using data to create your own solutions, okay? So we gathered a few considerations here that I would like to talk about and go through with you. And the first of them is to identify a high impact opportunity. And what this means, we know that the trend of generative AI makes the customers question themselves. What can I do? How can I apply this in my business? What is the right path to go? How can I start very quickly? And here, what we can think about is to identify either if it's in the internally in your company, or external, trying to solve a market problem, trying to solve a daily problem, but try to understand what actually impacts your customer, impacts your company internally, and try to prioritize solving this specific problem. It doesn't have to be a big problem, doesn't have to be a big marketing problem, but try to understand what is actually impacting and try to prioritize this and try to think about specific solutions, either from a specific industry, either from something more simple, okay? And after you understand what is this use case that is very impactful that you can try to solve, try to understand what is the right tool to solve that specific problem. So, and some customers ask, how can I know what is the right tool? We have so many services, talking about AWS specifically. We have so many services, we have different features. How can we choose between them? And what I can say is that try to look, when you choose something, some specific tool, try to choose thinking about how flexible is that tool. How can you choose and adapt when your needs change, when your customer needs change, and how is the position of that specific tool, a specific service regarding privacy, regarding governance, regarding security. So try to keep in mind what types of tools you can use that will make you flexible, scalable, and really improve the experience for your customer. And also have very, very clear KPIs, so you can actually measure how you are impacting either your customers, either your internal team, either the world. When you talk, for example, about sustainability, try to establish those key KPIs so you can see your progress during the way, and understanding how is the impact being shared around the world and around the company. So don't forget also to share those success stories, either internally, either in the market. So it's very important that we share those stories like we're doing with Mercado Diferente, so we can actually create more and do more innovation using and get inspired from other customers. And lastly, invest in educating your teams. So it's very, very, very important that we stay educated, not only just about the sustainability strategies, but also about new technologies. For example, like generative AI. Some few years ago, we didn't know much about generative AI. We're just starting to learning, and now it's everywhere. So it's very interesting to understand what new technologies are coming, what new features we're adding, what new services we're creating, and trying to get inspired from what is happening around. So you can, bring this inside your company and try to innovate and, create new experience for your customers as well. And having these tools and these best practices, maybe you're asking, how can I get started? So we actually have those 3 steps here that I think are very important. The first one is move quickly. And what I mean by that is, and I said this before, try to think about a use case that you can test, that is fast to test, is viable, but is still impactful. And again, it doesn't have to be a big solution, doesn't have to be a big market problem. You can start small and then you can dream and try to scale your solution so it will make more and more and more impact. And also customize. So Raul said this, data is very important for the generative AI applications and ML applications in general. We need to have a very well-defined data pipeline. We need to have good data so we can make those answers for the foundation models and the way that we are creating the experience for our customers very well-defined and very well done so they can have the best experience. So try to customize, use what you have, which is your data, and just you have your data. So use that so you can create powerful solutions for your customers and for your company. And lastly, I know that we talk about generative AI, Amazon Bedrock, but don't forget the entire part of the architecture. So Teddy's architecture is not just made about Amazon Bedrock. It has a lot of Bedrock there, but we also have security features. We also have the vector database. We have the AKS. What I mean by that is that we need to think how we are going to scale the entire architecture, not just the generative AI part of it. So having a well-defined policy for security, data privacy, having a way of scaling, being high available at all times is very important as well. So try to understand how you can optimize and how you can improve your architecture overall, so you can have the best solution and use the generative AI applications in a very well way. And also you can use the materials that we have. So for sustainability specifically, we have so many things here. So the first QR code is the official sustainability website for AWS. We also have different solutions that are ready to being tested. We have a huge partner ecosystem with many solutions, also focused on sustainability. And lastly, we have different data sets that you can use to build and research your own solutions. So try to use those, ask help from our teams as well. We really want you to be innovating. You want to be part of your process, part of your projects, so we can help you scale and grow. And if you want to get to know more about sustainability, we have those other sessions happening later in the week, so make sure you go check it. And that's it. Feel free to contact us, to reach out to us. Me, Paulo, and Raul, we are all here in the side. Those are all contacts, so reach out if you need any help, if you want to exchange experiences. And thank you so much for coming, for passing by. I hope you liked the session. So thank you so much.